Hello to anyone who may be seeing this, whenever you may be seeing this. Um, I am recording because I don't know what else to do right now. Um, I kind of have nothing going on tonight, and the gym is closed, so I need something to do, and I know that rotting in bed for 3 hours is not what's good for me right now, so I just decided to turn the camera on. I will probably turn this into a hello me in X amount of time type video. Um, I'll set it to go up probably after, I don't know, I'm thinking either after my last exam is done or maybe graduation day or something. Um, but I'm basically just going to go through and talk about what's on my mind right now because there's a lot. um, my lips are very dry and cracked right now. The weather is getting colder, but yeah, I've a lot that's been sort of going through my head over the past couple of weeks, and I don't really feel good streaming to talk about it. Um, so I'm just going to talk about it here, and who knows, maybe somebody will see it eventually. For reference, by the way, it is 9:13 p.m. on October 18th, 2025. So whenever in the future you're seeing this, howdy. Um, Hopefully things are peaceful and positive and hopefully hopefully you're not feeling anxious. That's probably the first thing I should talk about is anxiety, and not the song. If anybody is still talking about it at whatever point this video goes up, it's kind of dead at this point. But um, see a video on it every now and then. So it's kind of, I mean, as you will know, future me, it's always been an issue, or it has been for a long time. Um, Probably since middle school, although it's kind of varied over time and been for different reasons. Um, but it's been really bad since I came back from my last semester. It's been as bad as it's ever been, and as acute, I guess, as it's ever been. Um, in the past, what's really hounded on me has been depression. You know, persistent negative mood and inability to feel joy or contentment or peace. Um, Self isolation, that kind of stuff. And there's shades of that. That's still present. Like on a Friday night, I kind of just want to go back to my room. Like I'll hang out with friends. Like I'll shout out to Eric. Eric, if you're somehow watching this video, I'll probably get into this more later. But I love you, man, and thank you for being there for me for really all the time that we've known each other. Um, thank you for being there for me when times got really tough. But I don't not hang out with people. Um, I'm in like one club that I seriously attend, um, and it's been that way for all of college. Like I didn't get involved that much. There wasn't too much that interested me, um, or was exactly what I was like. Ooh, yeah, I wanna try that. Um, so yeah, I don't not socialize. Like I don't trap myself in my room all day. Like Eric and I get dinner semi-frequently. I go to club events and stuff. Like, I don't not see people, but, like, I still don't like crowds. I still don't like large gatherings. And generally, I'd much rather be alone and in my room and isolated with thick walls between me and anyone else so that anything that I say or think or do is for my eyes only. I mean, besides God, I guess. But, yeah, I like being alone. But I also don't. um, Loneliness is another thing that's kind of been there for a while. And it's not something that has an easy solution because I know who I am and I know how I act and what I do in situations where I could meet new people. It's not a matter of, oh, just go do this. Like, I've tried. I've been to young adult groups. Um, I was actually enjoying one quite a bit. And I just happened to go like twice before I came back to school. Um, and my fear is that I will get back in December and no one will remember me. And, all those relationships will have formed and I will have not been a part of it. And that will be. Well, I hope that doesn't happen, but in the case that it does, that will be disheartening. But, you know, loneliness in a particularly a romantic sense has always kind of been a sticking point with me. And I mean back into my high school days. Um, and it's not something that has a solution. Because generally, my thought process is somewhere along the lines of, okay, let's say I'm friends with somebody. Um, Generally, my cost benefit analysis of the situation is there's far more to lose by trying to take things further than is worth the risk. So it's better to just stay friends. Um, and also, I just don't really feel that way about a lot of people. Like, I don't think I'm on the asexual spectrum or anything. I don't, I want to strongly feel, romantic feelings for someone. I don't have anybody in my life at the moment that I overly have romantic feelings for. Um, it's been around 3 years since 4, actually, I think. Yeah, will have been 4. Since any quote unquote, dating or romantic activity. And even that was more than likely me being catfished. Um, if we want anything that I can define as super concrete, you got to go back to 2019, which is insane to say out loud. But yeah, it's been somewhere between 4 and 6 years since I was last in a relationship. Um, Depending on what you consider a relationship. And it's not that I haven't, felt for people during that time. I definitely have. Um, and it's not that I haven't asked people out during that time either. Um, Although it's been a couple of years since I've done that. Um, I kind of get in my own way a little bit, I think is probably the best way to say it. Um, I am my own worst enemy when it comes to that kind of stuff. And even for just friendships, forming friendships. Looking at it logically, it doesn't seem like something that would be so paralyzing and inhibiting. But I really struggle with getting over that social anxiety hump and just talking to people. Making conversation and you know doing it in a way where I don't feel like I'm intruding on something that's going on. Like often I want to intrude and you know you know be a part of other people's conversations because it's something that they're talking about something that I have interest or knowledge about, and I want to do it in a way that isn't interrupting, or making things weird. Um, but yeah, specifically on a romantic note, um, I am definitely the problem, I guess. Not in like a I feel like I would be toxic in a relationship kind of way. In more like a I am the reason that I can't. I am the reason that I haven't gotten into one in recent years because I just don't put myself out there. Like I don't try to talk to people. I don't try to get to know people well. Like I have friends. I have male and female friends. Like it's not that I don't have friends. Like a lot of my friends, most of my friends up at school are a part of the club that I go to. Like I've said that for years too. Like they're my friends up here. Like I have friends at home. I have my high school buddies and you know my boy Gingy and but it's tough because and I know I'm not alone in that, but I feel like I am like the extreme of the male loneliness epidemic, like even the I feel like it started out as a joke online, like the whole I'm scared of women, I can't talk to women kind of thing, but like for me it's like not a joke. Like I just physically I really struggle with like getting to a point in a relationship with anyone where that's feasible, or and even if it was, like would I ever be enough of a man to say what I feel kind of thing. um and honestly it hasn't been at the forefront of my mind recently. It was to start the semester, um and it has been at various points over various people over the past couple of years, but past couple of weeks, honestly, I've done a decent job of letting it go. I was a girl at my church that she was one of the only other students that went to the Saturday Mass, and I debated talking to her, but I couldn't think of a way to do it that wouldn't be, you know, really awkward, so I elected not to do it. Um, but yeah, that's sort of one of the. I'm only mentioning this because I'm coming off of. I don't know if I want to call it doom scrolling. I don't know if it was quite doom scrolling, but I was going through my Instagram Reels feed and lots of couple stuff, or if you're a single man, watch this video type of thing going on. And I just feel like again, I feel like I take that to an extreme, where like it's not just I get shy and anxious when I am around women. It's like I physically consciously make the choice, like I'm not going to talk to this person because it's going to be too awkward, or I'm going to stutter, or it's going to be completely uncomfortable for both of us. Like I guess I don't know how to like properly, like I can hold a conversation with somebody. Um, I've managed to do that with even with people that I've only known for a few minutes, few hours. I've been able to do that, but like I feel like romantically, it's like, and there's other factors as well, like confidence stuff that I will almost definitely get into. This is probably going to be a long video. As I'm talking, I'm coming up with more things I want to talk about, so this is probably going to be a super long video. Um, so stick around for the ride if you want. If you don't, that's fine. But I will. I'm just kind of gonna yap because it's more productive than scrolling through Instagram for the next couple hours, so I'm just gonna yap a little bit. And I was gonna stream, but there's a scheduled network outage at 10 p.m., so I don't want to get thrown offline from that, so I'm just gonna record instead. But second network maintenance event of the day, by the way. But anyway, so it's sort of like a background thing that comes up occasionally, mainly when I'm doom scrolling, but it's there, you know. Um, and it does hurt because I want a family so bad. Like, not just in like a, I don't know the best way to say it, like a worldly kind of like experience the things kind of way. Like, I want I want the storybook type of, atomic family kind of thing. Like, I genuinely have a deep desire for that. Like, I have a perfect plan. It's not going to work out that way. Or maybe it will. Who knows? I don't know what God has in store for me. But, I have a plan of how I want things to go, and, you know, how, you know, what, I want a son and a daughter, so I can throw the football with my son in the backyard and go to dances with my daughter, kind of thing. Like, um, is it gonna work out that way? I don't know. That's not for me to decide. But, I do desire that type of family life, the family photos and the stuff that my family did. The matching outfits at Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, and the pictures at pumpkin patches and cutting down Christmas trees, and that deep knit family connection. That's something that I really want. Beyond just like the how we get there. I want the joys of family life. Um, it's something that I really feel passionately about. Um, but there's a lot of steps that need to happen to get there. And I'm young. I'm 21 when I'm recording this. If things go according to plan, I will be 22 when this goes up. Um, but that's something I desire. It's something that, God has put on my heart. I want a family. I want a wife. I want children. I want a strong atomic family. And I'm not alone in that. I know a lot of people my age, desire that, both men and women want that sort of traditional family, I guess, for lack of a better word. Um, there's so many beautiful moments associated with it, and I feel like it would solve one of the biggest problems that I have endured over the past, gosh, 5 or so years. And that's a sense of purpose. Like, my purpose on this earth is to serve God, and to give witness to Him and spread His kingdom first and foremost. But, a purpose of sort of my earthly body, I guess, to head a strong family and, be a role model and a rock for the people who depend on me. It's more than just self gratification type of thing. It's something that deeply gives you purpose, and I would be willing to deal with the struggles and the difficulties and the late and sleepless nights and the frustrations of that, because I know what's on the other side. I've said this since I I don't even know, but I desperately want the type of relationship that my mother and father have. And I don't think I realize how lucky I am that I grew up in a house where that was the case and the relationship was so tight and so loving and kind and self-sacrificing. Not everyone has that. I know that. I know that, but I don't know what it's like to experience that. So, Mom and Dad, if you're watching this, I love you so much. I know you know that, but I'll be seeing them on Friday. As of when I'm recording this, it's a Saturday night when I'm recording this. That's another thing is I'm so happy I was raised the way I was. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I was raised with emphasis put on respect for adults, respect for others, respect for people who don't have what you have. Um, giving charitable work. Um, and the one that stands out most is working for what you have. Um, the value of a good work ethic and putting in the time. Um, I'm glad that things were not given to me on a silver platter. I'm glad I didn't grow up spoiled. I grew up spoiled. Don't get me wrong, but I'm glad I didn't grow up with everything given to me and never hearing the word no. Because one of the things I can pride myself on is my work ethic. And I'd like to think that I am a good person. I question that. Recently, I've questioned that. I got way off track from my original. I was talking about anxiety. And somehow we're here. But anyway, we'll get back there eventually. But I desperately want a relationship that is like the one that my parents have. And the ones that my grandparents, both sets of my grandparents have. And I say have, not had, because they're there. The ones that aren't physically here, I know they're here in spirit. But I'm so glad I was raised the way I was, because I value these things. I value love, I value charity, I value respect, I value honesty. I'm a terrible liar. If you were around in 2020 when I played Among Us, you'll know how bad of a liar I am. But, I value all these things, and I want to bring these things to a relationship one day. And pass them on to my children, because, God willing, if I can have children one day. Because, one, it's a deep desire for me to have a family, and two, my parents worked really hard to pass those ideals on to me, and I want to keep it going. Plus, I want to give them grandchildren, of course. But yeah, I think that probably settles the romance point, at least for now. I guess I'll go back to the anxiety bit now, because that's a bit more current time, current situation, I guess. So like I said earlier, I've dealt with anxiety issues probably back to grade school. Anxiety about, the furthest back I can remember is just my parents dropping me off at school. Like, couldn't handle it. Break down in tears. When my parents dropped me off at school and then they had to go to work. Like, it's another thing I'm grateful for is the relationship I have with my parents. Like, I love them to pieces. They love me to pieces. And I know not everybody gets that, and I'm grateful for what I have. But, you know, those sort of, I don't want to call them attachment issues, but I guess that's the closest thing to what it was. It was never born out of neglect. It was never born out of, any bad interactions. I just, I didn't like being separated from my parents. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily where it started. That's just like the earliest thing I can remember of where, I don't even know if that's anxiety necessarily, but it's taken a lot of different forms over the years. Anxiety about how I'm perceived by others, anxiety about um, my perception of myself, and if I am a good person. Um, am I a good person? Am I a holy person? Am I fulfilling my purpose in life? And then most recently and most profoundly, academically. Now, this should no longer be a problem by the time I upload this video. But I want to document probably a lot of things, but don't even know where this would have started. I mean, to an extent, I can remember being anxious in like middle school for like test grades and stuff, but a normal level of anxiety. Anxious enough to where you study, you put the time in, and you try. I remember being anxious to bring test grades home because I was afraid of my parents, specifically my dad's reaction. And I do not say that to paint him negatively, because it was never meant to be negative. I sort of interpreted way more than was there. He was a teacher for almost 30 years, and he knew what worked and what didn't for learning. And so he also knew, or I say knew, he's, God willing, he'll still be alive when this video goes up. He knew how to be successful and in an academic setting. And he knew what I was capable of academically, myself and my brother. And he would work with us if we ever brought home a grade that was below what he knew we could do, right? Now, again, I don't say this to, be like, oh, my dad would do X, Y, Z if I brought... That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm trying to say. He never beat me, right? I'm not trying to say that at all. But I guess... And I don't even think the anxiety was necessarily born out of that, per se. I think it was probably born more out of, I never wanted to disappoint my parents. And that's where the academic anxiety started. But, I was anxious because I didn't want them to react in a way that was like, oh, this isn't what I expect from you. You need to do better. I never wanted them to look at me and be disappointed by what I did academically. But yeah, my dad would, if I ever brought home something that was, didn't do as well as I could have, I'd sit down with him and we would go through, all right, what did I get wrong? Most of the time it was I was working too fast and I screwed something up. Either I missed a problem or I did this or I did that, because I was going too fast. And I knew young that I was smart. And sometimes I think I let that get to my head a little bit. And sometimes I focused a little more on getting done first, or um, things like that, than really locking in, and which is hilarious looking at me now. It's so funny. Because I double, triple, quadruple check everything that I do now. Um, so it's funny that at one point I don't want to say careless, but I would make mistakes like that. And whenever it was a mistake or a grade that was lower than expected for me or for him, because I expect good stuff out of myself too. You could talk to freaking anybody that I know, and you will know that the hardest critic of me academically is me. Um, but yeah, we'd sit down and talk through it, and figure out what went wrong, what do I need to change in my approach to do better next time. And I'm really grateful that you know we did that the way that we did. It was never, yeah, like I said, he never hit me over a bad grade. He never punished me over a bad grade. Um, it was okay. Let's look at what's here and let's figure out how to do better next time. Right? It was very caring. It was very supportive. Um, but I always put very high, or I always set very high standards for myself, even in middle school. Um, to make my parents proud. To this day, it's something that I feel really strongly about is making them proud, because I am so incredibly grateful for all that they have given me. The meals they've cooked, the the fact that I have a room to myself and a bed to sleep in at home that is kept up even when I'm away. Um, the things that they've bought my brother and I over the years, the electronic devices and setups, and all of the stuff we used to play with when we were younger. I mean, the boxes on boxes of Mario plush toys sitting in our basement. like um and just the fact that they were so loving and caring. I say was, they still are. They're so loving, they're so caring, they're so kind. And I wanted to make them proud. I always have. And that led to me kind of internalizing, um, bringing something home that wasn't at my level as that's not good enough. Nobody said that but me, but that's what I interpreted as truth. Was that's not good enough. If you are not bringing home straight A pluses on your report card, that's not good enough. If everything in your test folder that comes back every Wednesday isn't a 90, that's not good enough. And as time went on, especially going into high school, my parents were a little more hands off on academics. If I was doing what I needed to do and keeping my grades up, then no worries, everything's fine. And I did well in high school. Um, but high school is definitely where I think something more like what I'm dealing with now sort of started in terms of academic anxiety. Um, Not really for the first couple of years. The first couple of years were pretty smooth. COVID threw everything out of whack. But in terms of how I did with my grades, my first 3 or so years of high school were relatively stress free outside of pre-calc and calc 1, um, which I still did well in. Still did well. Just wore on me a little bit more and were definitely less in my wheelhouse and took more time and effort. But generally, I did well. And then I got to my senior year, and just for a little bit of context, I was in a dual enrollment program where a lot of the classes I was taking for high school credit were also counting for college credit. And senior year, my cohort and I were only taking one class per semester at our high school, and we were taking 3 on the college campus of the college that we were duly enrolled with. And the first semester on the college campus, I was taking Calc 2. And like I previously mentioned, I did not like pre-calc. I did not like Calc 1. I had some experiences and tough situations I won't delve into, but it wasn't a great experience for anybody involved, including the professor. But I remember panicking over Calc 2. Before I was even in the class. I'm talking over the summer. I was panicking over Calc 2. And admittedly, I did not do well with Calc 2. Not from a grade standpoint. I did great from a grade standpoint. I ended with an A. Work-life balance was not existent. I would lock myself in my parents' bedroom for 3 hours at a time and go through this thick packet of problems that the professor gave us on the first day of class that basically covered all the topics for the semester. I would lock myself in that room for 3 hours and go through the packet. Go through problem after problem after problem after problem after problem. And do it basically daily. To ensure I was prepared for exams. Quizzes were on some web service that was like automatically graded, and they were also timed, so a couple of those I didn't do so great on, I remember. I think homeworks as well were similarly online, but that stressed me out quite a bit, just because Calc 2 was the one I was really worried about, because of my previous experiences with pre-calc and Calc 1, and I didn't like the concept of calculus. We were behind in what we should have known due to factors outside of our control, so what was sort of review and knowledge that we should have come in with, we kind of had to learn on the fly. But again, I did well in the class. The other classes I took, I did fine. But that was like the first instance where I was like, holy crap, I'm legitimately really worried about a class. Like panicking before the class even started about a class. And I bring that up because as I got to college, pretty much every semester in some capacity that has taken place. But generally, at least for the first couple of years or so, once I settled in, I was okay. Maybe some anxiety about assignments that were worth a good amount of the grade or whatever, but generally, I did a good job of focusing on the class or the assignment during the time that I was dedicating to it, and then putting it aside otherwise. I'm not so good at that anymore. And that's the reason I wanted to talk about anxiety at all, is because the past 2 to 3 months have been unbearable. I mean, legitimately unbearable. Like, taking a toll on my everyday life unbearable when it comes to the anxiety that I've been dealing with. Once again, I was panicked about my schedule before classes even started, to the point where I had a full-on mental breakdown one night, to where I needed to be... I had to take L-theanine to calm me down because I could not settle down. My mother and father both had to be there to comfort me because I could not calm myself down. And to an extent, I think this goes back to last fall as well. I was not taking classes for the spring or the summer. I was doing certifications during that time. It's kind of a long story, but yeah. The previous fall, I guess I'd had maybe a little bit of that. Or I guess what I'm about to get into. So, I get on campus, and I'm talking like, my parents have not even driven home yet. Like, they're on the road home, and I'm already anxious. I'm already panicking. I'm already thinking, okay, am I ready for this class? Am I ready for this class? Am I ready for whatever's going to show up on the first day in this class? Like, a couple of days in, we've just gone through, like, introductory materials. Okay, what about this? What about this? Am I ready for this? Like, far more anxious than I should be. But when I tell you that, like, that was the tip of the iceberg, like, I can't even explain how bad it is now. Like, maybe the best way to explain it is this. One class that I'm taking, data mining. Notoriously tough, according to previous students. But I took machine learning from data last fall. There's some overlap there. I did a machine learning certification over the summer. There's some overlap there. Every time a new homework assignment is posted, before I've even had the chance to look at it, I mean, I just am simply acknowledging that the assignment exists. Nervous feeling in my gut, heart rate increases, breathing speeds up, like, legitimate, I don't want to say fight or flight, but like, serious reaction to just the acknowledgement that an assignment exists and needs to be done. Coughing fits, that's another thing. I cough a lot when I'm nervous. Doesn't really matter where. That's another thing I've noticed. But again, that's me being manic about my academics and, you know, being like, oh, this thing is out. Can I do it? Do I know how to do it? Can I start working on this now? Should I start working on this now? You know, are there enough hours left in the day where I could take a good crack at this right now? Would you be surprised to know that up to this point on the first 3 homework assignments, I have over a perfect score? Like, there is no logical reason for me to be that anxious about an assignment being posted. Not the content of the assignment, not the deadline, not a grade I received, the fact that an assignment was posted. I'm averaging over 100 on all the homeworks I've completed so far. Doesn't change anything. I still freak out when I see an assignment gets posted. But it's gotten so bad to the point that if I even have a slight inkling that an assignment might be posted on a given day, that is with me all day. I will check course materials regularly to check, has it been posted? Has it been posted? Did I miss a notification? Has it been posted? And I can't really calm down and relax fully because it's there all the time. It's there. And it drives me insane. It legitimately drives me nuts. Like I've said, it's at a point where it affects my daily life and my peace. Like, I can't really be fully at peace because I'm worried about, will an assignment be posted today? And it happens with other classes as well, to a lesser extent, because I'm not as worried about the content of those. But the main one that it happens with is this data mining course. And like I said, it's just, it's awful. It's awful. It's legitimately terrible. And it is so bad that it disturbs my peace, and I regularly complain about it to my friends, specifically Eric. Thank you, Eric, for listening. It's bad. It's and I have tried to logic my way through it to calm myself down, and it doesn't work. It might work for a little bit. It doesn't work for an extended period of time. It just doesn't. And I've found myself at times going through like a cycle of like, get upset or anxious about something, logic my way through it, settle down a little bit, but then sometime later, whoop, we're worried about it again, and I have to logic my way through it again and settle down again. And there's times I have to do that multiple times a day. Like there's days where I have to do that multiple times because I can't stay calm. I can't stay calm. I can't stay at peace. Because if I'm not doing something for a couple of hours, it's like, should I be? Should I be working on an assignment? Do I have something to do? So, it's bad. And I know it's bad. And I know it's excessive, and I know I shouldn't be doing it, but I have not found a way to control it effectively for an extended period of time. I'm through 7.5 weeks of this semester as I'm recording this. Have not found an effective way to manage it. Honestly, the most effective way to manage it is just do the thing. If there's an assignment out, do it. Sit down, take 2 hours, do the assignment. Or at least in some capacity, work on it. That's the most effective way to handle it, is just do it. The problem comes when you can't do it, because it's not out yet. Like, this past Tuesday, in my Psychology of Mindfulness class, we were talking about anxiety and depression and the relations to mindfulness. And I put my hand up and I was like, so, there was a bit in there about, if you're worried about something, do something about it, control it, how you can control it, and make progress on it or do something. What if you can't? What if you're worried about something in the future? Like, to an excessive degree, where it's bothering you. And, my professor said, that if it's chronic and it's really intense and affecting you that much, then you should talk to a therapist about it. I'm like, well, great. Because I did talk to a therapist over the summer, and we discussed this on... I don't know if we discussed this specifically, but we discussed my anxieties related to academics on multiple occasions. And, I'm not trying to shade my therapist at all. He was great. But, I don't, nothing that I have done has been effective in, settling down or managing it. It just hasn't worked. And it's hard to describe exactly, like, what it is, or, like, why it bothers me so much, because, one, it shouldn't, and two, it's just hard to exactly explain the feeling. Like, I don't know if this is a universal experience, but, like, when you get a test grade back and it's lower than you expect, or, like, way lower than you expect, and the heart is beating, and you're kind of freaking out a little bit. That's my reaction to these assignments being posted, or even potentially being posted on a given day. More so when it's actually posted, I get the accelerated heart rate and everything, but it has been so hard this semester for me to find peace. I pray for it regularly, multiple times a day, because I have struggled to find it. I have struggled to find legitimate, lasting peace for the first 2 months or so of this semester. And the anxiety might make sense if there was a lot riding on these assignments. But that's not the case for a couple of different reasons. One, going into this semester, I have a 3.83 GPA. I am in no danger of not being able to graduate. I applied for graduation before I even got back on campus, and it was accepted. Number two, actually there's 3 different reasons. Number 2, most of the assignments I'm freaking out about are not a significant portion of the grade. They're 4 to 5% of the grade. The homework assignments. Maybe if it's an exam that's worth 60%, might make a little more sense to be worried about that. 5%? 4%? Really? It logically, it's not there. It doesn't match up with how much it's actually worth. And 3, I'm doing well in my classes. If I had already failed a homework, or I wasn't understanding the material, or I didn't do well on an exam and I needed to buffer my grade, maybe there's more riding on those assignments, so the anxiety makes a little more sense. None of that is happening. None of it. I'm doing well in all my classes. I think I have a high B+ in that data mining course. Not too far below an A-. And I am totally content with that, and content with my performance on the semester so far, and I hope to keep it up. So there is no logical reason, and I'm a very logical person. I reason things through with logic. There is no logical reason I should be as anxious as I am about that class or any schoolwork at all. I think that network outage just happened, by the way, because my computer can't connect to Wi-Fi right now. But anyway, that's why I'm recording and not streaming. But the most effective solution is just do the assignment. But that doesn't work if there's no assignment to do yet. And that's the really frustrating part for me, is trying to find peace in the in-between period where the previous assignment is done and the new one hasn't come out yet. But it could, so I'm on alert. That sucks, and it's really frustrating. And it's hard to describe exactly how annoying it is. For a while, I've been the type of person who, if I'm not doing something, or I maybe what's the best way to put this? If I'm not doing something for too long, I start to get a little worried because I'm thinking, should I be spending my time doing something more productive? And if I have something to worry about, I worry about it. And if I don't have something to worry about, I'm worried about the fact that I'm not worried about anything. That's been me for a bit now. But this is another level of, unnecessary. To where I can't even enjoy my downtime. Because in the back of my mind, there's always that worry about what if an assignment comes out? What if this thing comes out and I don't know how to do it? What if I can't use ChatGPT to help me with this thing? It's always, it's there. And when the assignment's not out yet, there's nothing I can do about it. When an assignment's out, I do the assignment. There's still that, wave of anxiety and the coughing fit and whatever, but at least that has a solution. Just do the thing. Do the thing. Get it out of the way. I do the data mining homeworks in one sitting, whenever I can. If the homework's out early enough to where I'm not dipping into my 8 hours of sleep completing it, I'll sit down for 2 to 3 hours and I'll do the thing. I've done that on multiple occasions. For homeworks for my database systems class, when they come out, I sit down for an hour, I do a couple of problems, and then that's my progress for the day. And then the next day, I'll do a couple more problems, and the next day, I'll do a couple more, and then the day after that, I'll touch them up and compare outputs and, make small incremental progress every day. Until I can get to office hours and get more concrete answers. Like, other classes don't bother me this much. That's probably the weirdest part out of all of it, is it's kind of just this one class. The other ones don't bother me as much. Like, even this database systems class that I was a little bit worried about coming in, because people are like, oh, well, it's not the easiest class in the world. I've kind of really enjoyed it so far. Which is weird. I never say that about anything. I'm enjoying this class. Sure, the homework's giving me a little bit of anxiety, and of course when there's an exam, I'm a bit more worried than I should be about, have I covered everything I need to cover? Should I add stuff to a crib sheet? Am I going in prepared? That type of thing. I like this class. I'm enjoying it. But data mining is it just drives me insane. And when there's no concrete way to dispel that anxiety, there's nothing you can really do about it except try to logic your way through it and say, is there something to do? No, so why are you worried about it? And that's what I've tried to use that throughout the semester to calm myself down a little bit and just be like, the previous assignment's done. You've checked that it's done. You've checked that everything's there that should be there. The new one's not out yet. What are you worried about? Why are we spending brain space and energy worrying about this? Why? Take the downtime. Use it. Downtime to the max so you are rested for when stuff does come out. But unfortunately, it's not that simple. And I think I'm probably doing a better job of it than I did a couple weeks ago, but still ain't perfect. I still spend more time checking websites and worrying and stuff than I should. I should just relax. And I've talked to multiple people about this, and one of their advice was just don't worry about it. Why didn't I think of that? No, I'm not trying to throw shade. It's just like, okay, maybe a little shade. But, yeah, it's just like, I would if I could, If I had control over the worry, I would not worry. But I kind of don't. And, I've heard and seen stuff about, it's not about the thing, it's about your relationship to the thing, and you changing your mindset and all of that, and it's like, I don't know if anyone fully understands the relationship between me and academics and the standards that I set for myself and my sort of requirement of meeting those standards. I'd say or else, but there is no or else. There is no punishment. There is no, you lose for not meeting the requirements. The only one setting those requirements is me. Like, I'm my own biggest critic. And that I've always been that way. But I've been yapping about this for a while. I apologize. But yeah, it's frustrating. You feel helpless. You want to do something about it, but you don't know what. And I pray for peace every day. I pray, let it be a peaceful week, let it be a down week, let it be an easy week. And then even on the weeks where it is, it's not It's not smooth sailing because I'm in my head. I'm worried about, what if this comes out? What if I didn't do this well? What if this grade doesn't come back good? Am I doing enough here? I drive myself insane. I really do. And I've been ineffective in stopping it. Now, of course, this will no longer be a problem when you're seeing this video, because you'll be seeing this video either after I've finished classes or after I've officially received my degree. So I guess I talk about that only to vent currently, and two, to give some perspective on where I'm at when I'm recording this. So that's probably a okay summation of the anxiety. I'm sure I didn't explain that super well, but yeah, it's just kind of constantly nagging at me, and there's not much I can do about it in some circumstances, and it drives me nuts. And I know that it's excessive, and I know that I shouldn't be doing it, and that knowledge does not help. So yeah, that's the anxiety bit. But there's also other things that this isn't academic related. This is just sort of, I'm going to get into some more life stuff now that's just kind of, been bothering me a little bit. I don't like how I look in a lot of different ways. Been that way for a while. I mean, that's been there forever. I mean, if you've been around since like 2020, 2021, you'll know about the old McDonald's hairline. But I'm at a point in my life when, as I mentioned earlier, I want to start a family someday. I want to put myself out there and meet people and make a good impression. And I don't look in the mirror and think, wow, you're attractive. Like, I'm overweight. And that's not me self-deprecating. That's, I literally am. I've got like 1.5 chins. My cheeks are chubby. My hairline is gross. I've got way too much hair on my body, specifically on like my arms and legs. Like, I've got the body hair of a 40-year-old dad, except around like my kind of chest and stomach area. So I don't think that makes me look attractive at all. I don't really have a ton of muscle mass. I went to the gym twice when I got back on campus, and I haven't been since, and I want to start going again. I've never loved my voice, to be honest. I've always thought it's very high-pitched for a dude. I don't really take myself seriously with my voice. I think it's kind of off-putting, kind of jarring, too high-pitched, not serious and bassy enough. My forehead's massive. That's another hair thing, like my forehead's huge. And away from body stuff, like, just, I don't carry myself with confidence. Like, socially, I'm a mess. I don't say this to drum up pity. I want to make that clear. I'm not trying to throw a pity party for myself. This isn't just me kind of talking about how I feel about myself. Like, on a good day, I'm maybe like a 5 out of 10. Like, when the hair is how it needs to be and the fit is good, and maybe I'm like a 5 on a good day. But the highs are not that high and the lows are very low. But yeah, I'm not really a super confident person. I'm not confident in my appearance. I'm not confident in my body. I'm not confident in my social abilities. I'm not confident in my overall abilities. I wouldn't consider myself particularly good at anything. Like, and this is me being serious, by the way. Like, I go through things and like, what am I really, not like just something I've done a lot. Like, what am I legitimately good at? Wouldn't consider myself good at YouTube at all. I wouldn't consider myself good at most video games, despite the fact I've been playing them for a really long time. I mean, I'm a competent Minecraft player, but I still live in the world of where netherite is a new thing. So, don't know how much credit I can give myself there. Like, thinking about things I do, like, I'm not a good athlete. I wouldn't consider myself overly funny. I think I have my moments, but I'm not consistent, and I definitely sort of force things. My volume control is terrible. I'm way too loud. Like, in any situation, I'm way, way, way too loud when I'm talking to people. I overshare so much. I overshare like crazy. I hit a weird combination of not trusting people and being too trusting at the same time. It's weird. Yeah, I struggle to come up with things that I'm really, really good at. Like, I have a good work ethic. I work hard. I jump on things when they come up. I'm pretty good at sticking to a routine for the most part. I guess I've done a pretty good job of that, at least for the last couple months or so. But, like, are those really things, or are those more like ideas, Yeah, and again, I'm not trying to drum up pity for myself. I'm legitimately, I don't think I'm all that good at a lot of things. Like, just because I know a lot about something doesn't make me good at it. I know a lot about certain video games, but I'm far from exceptional at any of them. I know quite a bit about YouTube. I wouldn't consider myself good at YouTube. I know quite a bit about certain sports, but I wouldn't consider myself the most knowledgeable person or someone who's any good at any sports. Like, I guess I say this to reinforce the fact that I don't feel all that exceptional as a person, I guess. I stutter a lot too. Some of it's like actual stuttering, and then some of it is just like I have three ideas. Like, one idea pops in, then another idea pops in, then another idea, and I just kind of jump between them. Like, it's weird. But I do legitimately stutter sometimes, and just get stuck in like a couple times. I've noticed that I just legitimately stutter, and it's not just me jumping between ideas. But I used to always be able to at least hang my hat on, I'm a kind soul and a good person. And over the past couple years, that's come into question because, one, I am a hothead. Like, I am incredibly hot-headed and defensive at all times. I am on, like, high alert at all times. Minor inconveniences set me off. Like, if I'm pulling out of a parking spot and somebody goes behind me, I might throw a minor fit. Like, minor inconveniences absolutely set me off. And I get mad at people over small things, and I know I shouldn't. And I'm trying to work on it. I'm trying to recognize moments when I freak out over something or get upset with someone over something small and sort of, hey, relax. They didn't do this to you intentionally to rage bait you, like like chill. It's all good. Like, just, it's a part of life. Sometimes you get stuck behind the shuttle on your way to church. Sometimes that just happens. It's not a personal attack. It's not the universe conspiring against you. It's just the happenings of your everyday life. But yeah, I get really upset with people, and sometimes I form judgments about people almost subconsciously, and I judge people or look at people in a certain way when they've done absolutely nothing to earn that judgment from me. And I look at myself like, why are you looking at this person that way? Why do you dislike this person or have a negative impression of this person when this person's done nothing to you? Like, why? Like, where did that come from? Like, that's not the nice person that you were. Like, where are these judgments coming from? Where are these labels and these negative emotions? Where are these coming from? Like, why are you so defensive? Why are you so quick to get upset with other people and form judgments? Like, that's not how you used to be. And also, I think this is the first time I will have brought this up here, so this is some new ground we're digging into. But I'm gonna bring this up because I don't know. I feel like I should be transparent about everything that goes on in my life. I like to think of myself, if nothing else, at least as an honest person. Um, I have struggled with addiction. Um, I won't go into a ton of detail about the specifics of it. Um, but for probably a decade, if not longer, I've struggled with addiction. Um, and actually, as I'm recording this, a couple nights ago, I sort of had an in-depth conversation with God, I guess, about it. More than just sort of the surface level one that I've had with him before when I, fall into addiction. Um, and I really, really talked with him for a bit about, because this is kind of eaten at me for a while, about, because every time I fall into this, like, there's always that I want to do better. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do better. I want to do the right thing. I know this isn't good for me. I know I shouldn't be doing this. I know this is against the will of God, but every time in the moment, it's just all that goes out the window. And addiction is a real thing. It's easy for, to look at somebody who's struggling with an addiction that you are not struggling with and be like, well, why don't they just stop? I found myself doing that. But trust me when I tell you, it's not that simple. It's, and this one's particularly frustrating for me because for 8 to 10 years I was stuck in this. Sort of came upon it unintentionally, just sort of through curiosity, and got stuck. Couldn't break away. It became a really frustrating daily thing. And you really start thinking to yourself, like, how am I going to be a husband? How am I going to be a father? How am I going to call myself a man of God if I can't stop doing this? And then in 2022, I stopped. I made a commitment, and I stopped. 2 years. 2 years I was clean. Thought I'd finally broke free. And then last fall I fell in again. It went from such a high to such a low, I fought with it for so long and always said, I want to change, I want to change, I want to be better, I want to do better. I know this isn't right. I know I shouldn't be doing this. God, I'm sorry. I promise you I want to be better. Please help me. And then for 2 years, I was clean. And I wasn't doing it. And then last fall, I had a bad night. And fell back into it again. And it's a battle that I've been fighting for almost a year now. And, I'm going to use this video partially as a way to hold myself accountable. And try and keep this up. And, because, for a couple days now, was that last night? Might have been last night, I don't remember. I think it was 2 nights ago. That I had this in-depth conversation with God, and something felt different. I can't describe it. Something felt different. Past couple days have felt different when I've been tempted. There's been temptation, but something about the mindset feels different, Or maybe you don't know. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but something felt different. There's something there that wasn't there before. It reminds me of 2 years, I guess now 3 years ago. When the temptation's still there, but there's a firm resolution to say no. And say, I'm not letting this have control over me. Will I still be holding on to it? Will I still be fighting against it? Will I have relapsed by the time this video goes out? I have no idea. Will I even remember that I had spoken about this? Who knows? But I'm going to give it my all. I can tell you that. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to pray. I'm going to continue to fight. Because the one thing I'm not going to do, regardless of how long I can keep this up, the one thing I'm not going to do is give up. I'm not going to resign myself. I'm not going to just give in and accept that this is part of who I am. Because it's not. It's not. I'm a Bible study leader for my Christian club that I'm a part of, and we're reading through Romans this semester, and we just got through the bit last week about we're not slaves to sin anymore. Jesus died so that we're no longer slaves to sin, we're slaves to righteousness. We're not under sin, we're not ruled by sin, we're ruled by righteousness. Sin doesn't have power over us anymore. And I've gotten to a point where I felt like that addiction had power over me. I felt helpless. I felt like I couldn't escape it. And when I finally started to realize that, I put my foot down. And again, this is me only, this was only a couple of days ago. So, a lot of things could happen in the time between this video, me recording this video and this video going up. But, like I said, something felt different. Something feels different. and I'm going to give it my all. And I'm going to do my best to fight this, and I'm going to be very vulnerable, and I'm talking about it. This is not something I've ever spoken about in this much detail in, the 11 years that I've been on this channel. 11 and a half as if I'm recording this. Might be 12 depending on when I post this. This has been going on for a long time, and I'm going to try to fight. And I'm going to try to stay strong and bring God into this and try and, with His help, break free. And, this is, it's an interesting thing because I've always been so hesitant to talk about it because I thought, oh, well, what if I talk about this and people are disgusted? What if I talk about this and people look at me and, it completely distorts their perception of me. And they look at me and they think, oh, this guy, he claims to be a Christian, but he's doing this in his free time. And, he when he's talking about the Bible, he's talking about, turning from sin and repenting and doing good, and he keeps doing this thing over and over again. He's such a hypocrite. He's such a disgusting guy, getting stuck in this. Like, that was my biggest fear, was bringing this up and being met with, you're disgusting, I don't want to support you because you do this, you're a hypocrite. And if that's your reaction to hearing this, that's justified. I am a hypocrite for preaching one thing and then going back and doing the thing that I preach against. Absolutely. I am a hypocrite. I do not deny that. I am a filthy, wretched, sinful man. And that is abundantly on display to me, or has been every time that I fall into this temptation. Just how filthy and wretched and sinful I am. But if I could work to be a little bit less sinful, or a little bit less wretched, maybe that's something I could hang my hat on. I've mentioned several times this video that I've started to doubt my status as a good person over the past couple of years. Maybe I should try to change that. I want to try to change that. I've talked at length about how much I dislike my body and how I look. Maybe I should do something about that. It's anywhere from 2 to, I don't know, 7 months before anybody sees this video. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of time. And maybe every day I can try and improve, try and get a little bit better at being kind, or staying calm, or doing something nice for somebody, or something like that. Maybe every day I can try and get to the gym, or at least go for a walk, or do some push-ups, or something like that. Because I want to look in the mirror, and I want to be happy with who I see on the outside and on the inside. Because for the longest time I could at least, if I wasn't happy with how I looked, or I wasn't happy with what I was going through, I could at least say I'm a good person and I work hard and I love God. But, I've reached a point in my life where I started to doubt if I'm a good person. I still work hard, and, that's something that I've actually noticed in this semester so far is it's night and day between last fall and this fall because of how burnt out I was last fall, having done 4 semesters in a row without a break of like 3 weeks or more. Just couldn't take it. Some days I couldn't get out of bed. Stopped going to some of my classes after the first exam. But this semester, I jump on things right away. I work hard. I put time in. I focus. It's a night and day difference from last fall, Last fall I thought, what's wrong with me? I've been able to do this for years. Why can't I do this anymore? Why can't I focus? Why can't I commit to working on this thing that I know needs to be done, but I can't get off my phone and do it right now. I just can't. I can't bring myself to do it. And this fall is different. Something comes out, I work on it. In any way that I can, at least. And maybe some other things should be different too. I'm recording this as sort of a hey me in the future type of thing, but I think I've it's got me thinking about who am I now and who do I want to be? Who do I want to be when this video goes out? Obviously I want to be done with college, but who do I want to be inside? Who do I want to be? What type of person do I want to be? I want to be a strong person. I want to be a good person, a kind person, a loving person. And I want to be the guy who makes his parents proud, just like I always have. And I want to make God proud too, above everything. This has already been way longer than I anticipated it was going to be. But thank you if you're still here. I appreciate your support. And hopefully whenever you see this, I am more at peace and can take pride in myself and who I am and what I've done, and hopefully I can look back on me right now and be like, man, we've come a long way, even if it's only a couple months. Hopefully I can look back and see that I've become better. Little by little, every single day. I think that's one of the things that stops me from fully committing to something like a body transformation or something like that is, it's a daily grind. It's daily, and I mean, I lost 30 pounds while I was at home. I came home from school, I was probably 220. I was around 190, a little over 190 when I went back to school, which is still overweight, but I lost 30 pounds while I was at home, and I want to at least stay there, if not drop some more. By the time this video comes out, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how things work out. But even if it's just some small things like some push-ups or a walk, or if I want to go to the gym for an hour, then great. Probably help me settle down and put my mind at ease a little bit with all the anxiety. As we get to the end here, I wanna thank some people. First and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for the fact that I'm alive, and for being so gracious and kind to me and to all, and for all that I have, and for guiding me and being with me in everything that I do. Nothing that I've accomplished would have been possible without him. I want to thank my mom, my dad, my brother, my grandmother, and my 2 grandfathers and 1 grandmother who are with the Lord, for all that they've done to support me and love me and get me to where I am. I want to thank my friends. I want to thank Paul, Mike, Owen, James. I want to thank my guy DD, Steelers, Fear, Eric, everybody from Fear SMP, all my mods, all my Christian club friends. I won't name names, but I'm definitely forgetting some people. I'm very tired. I'm sorry. All my friends, my family, my loved ones, and anyone who's been close with me in any capacity. Thank you for being a part of my life and making it better. I can only hope I've made yours better as well. And finally, I want to thank you, the viewer. None of what I've done, however little it might be, on YouTube is possible without you. It sometimes doesn't seem too significant. As I'm recording this, I've only got around 2,050 subscribers, and I can attribute most of that to trends on the internet versus stuff that I've done for the sake of having fun and being myself. But I've said this before, and I'll probably say it many more times. I don't care if you've been here for 5 minutes or 5 years. You are significant to me. I love you, and I thank you, and I care about you, and you have made an impact on my life whether or not you realize it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your support, your love, your time that you could spend anywhere else. And I hope that in some way, shape, or form over the last 11, 12, however the heck many years, that I've been able to make you smile. I hope I've made you happy. I hope I've in some way made your day or your life better, if only for a moment. Because that's the goal at the end of the day, The goal was never to make money. The goal was never to, do anything other than have a good time and share joy. That was the goal. Now, I'm incredibly grateful that I'm at a point where I'm able to make any amount of money from this, and people have been so incredibly generous to me over the years, and I will not soon forget that. And just the fact that you've been willing to take time out of your day to spend it here and listen to my voice or watch me do whatever the heck I may be doing means a lot. And I hope you know that. But with that being said, I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you for watching. I pray that you have a blessed day, and that whatever you're worrying about or dealing with, I pray that you are at peace, and that you are carried through whatever struggle you may be facing. And I pray that you would know just how much Jesus loves you, and that you and him could be on good terms. And I truly hope that everyone knows just how much the Lord loves them. I mean, it's impossible to truly know, but I pray that you feel the love of Jesus today. And God bless. God bless all of you. God bless this great country, and see you when I see you.